The internet has been crazy the last couple of days about this Vanessa Bryant story. I know y'all have heard it at this point. There was a rumor going on for the last like 3 or 4 days that Vanessa Bryant, the widow of Kobe Bryant, was pregnant.
He was an incredible basketball player, a devoted father, and he clearly loved his wife, Vanessa, beyond measure. Kobe Bryant wasn't just a friend to Stephen A. Smith, he was family. So when whispers started swirling that Vanessa Bryant might be pregnant, you know Stephen A. wasn't just gonna sit back. Word on the street is, his reaction was completely unexpected, and what he actually said behind closed doors might just blow your mind. Let's break it down, starting with the spark, those Vanessa Bryant pregnancy rumors, and how the internet lost its collective mind. This whole thing kicked off, not with an official announcement, but with the relentless, unyielding hum of the internet. Back in mid-2023, hushed whispers exploded into trending hashtags, screaming Vanessa Bryant is pregnant. At first it was just the usual online speculation, the kind of rumor that doesn't need proof to thrive. But this wasn't just any celebrity. Vanessa Bryant, Kobe's widow, holds a uniquely sacred place in our cultural imagination. She'd been through unthinkable tragedy, losing both her husband and daughter Gianna in that catastrophic helicopter crash in January 20. Since then, she'd been simultaneously protected and scrutinized, seen as the guardian of Kobe's legacy, yet pressured to live her life under constant public watch. When this rumor ignited, the intensity shocked even seasoned celebrity observers. It wasn't just idle gossip. The emotional stakes surrounding Vanessa, magnified by the hero worship of Kobe, meant this rumor was like a match thrown into a dry forest. Within hours, social media, blogs, and forums absolutely blew up with arguments, outrage, and insane moral judgments. The early reports were pure chaos. Influencers and small platforms just recycled the same explosive phrase. Vanessa was not only pregnant, but possibly pregnant by a young baller. That single phrase, vague but oh so salacious, supercharged the speculation. It screamed betrayal, it hinted at replacement, and worst of all, it suggested a complete desecration of Kobe Bryant's carefully preserved public memory. On the Joe Budden podcast, this whole mess was dissected brutally.
People's reaction to it, like, people were bent out of shape, especially dudes were like really bent out of shape at the idea that Vanessa Bryant could be pregnant.
And the rule is, I mean, of course, in life, she's supposed to move on. She can live her life and stuff like that. I mean, it's been 5 years and all that. And that's her choice, if that was true. When it comes to morals and principles in our minds, and whatever mental world that I'm in, that's Kobe. But what's the bar?
During that podcast conversation, the phrase young baller was repeated and debated endlessly. Nobody ever confirmed who this supposed young baller was. No photos circulated, and there was absolutely zero credible reporting. Yet that insinuation alone was enough to unleash viral anger. The backlash carried a clear message. People felt they owned Kobe's memory. So many commentators, especially men online, expressed pure indignation that Vanessa could even be linked to another pregnancy. Some tried to hide their reactions in humor, others in outright rage, but deep down it was all rooted in this belief that Vanessa's life remained forever tied to Kobe's absence.
Well, in case anybody was wondering, Vanessa Bryant is not pregnant. So she posted the meme of Rihanna where Rihanna's like swimming and she has the goggles on and she has the middle finger up. And the caption of the meme said, me protecting my peace, not pregnant and having fun all summer.
And here's the wild paradox. On one hand, people publicly declared Vanessa had every right to move on with her life. But on the other, they were enforcing this unspoken community rule. Widowhood meant permanent allegiance. The discussion kept circling back to this cultural expectation that women connected to legends must embody eternal mourning. Move on, they'd say, but do it privately, as one speaker summarized. This expectation honestly just mirrors history. Widows of public figures across so many communities are often pressured to remain symbols instead of actual individuals. In Vanessa Bryant's case, that symbolism was cranked up to 11 because of her battles against institutions that wronged Kobe's legacy. From lawsuits over those horrific crash site photos to disputes within her own family, she wasn't just Kobe's widow, she was his living monument. This rumor, then, wasn't just trivial celebrity gossip. It was seen as a direct attack against memory itself. And as the anger swelled, the online discourse turned incredibly cruel. A massive chunk of the internet was saying the same thing, calling her all sorts of terrible names. Euphemisms aside, that hostility revealed just how quickly public sympathy could flip into condemnation. But here's the kicker. Vanessa Bryant herself did not stay silent. In a powerful move, she took to Instagram stories. Using humor as her armor, she posted a meme of Rihanna swimming with goggles, captioned, "Me protecting my peace, not pregnant, and having fun all summer." She followed it up with another Rihanna meme, declaring, "I'm not mean, I'm just not the one."
Devastating. Obviously, I found out a few minutes after the reports came out, and it's a guy I've known for his entire career, and I've known him pretty well, and we've talked a lot, and throughout the years, and knowing what a winner he was, not just on the basketball court, but off of it, how inspirational he was, how motivational he was. It wasn't just about basketball with him. It was about life.
Her response was pure genius. She didn't dignify the rumor with some long explanation, but she didn't ignore it either. By dropping humor and memes, she completely flipped the narrative from scandal to pure absurdity. But the fact that she chose to address it at all showed just how much this rumor was messing with her. For a woman who almost never engages with online chatter, this moment was a huge deal. Everyone realized her defensiveness wasn't about whether the rumor was true or false. It was about the sickening intrusion into her grief and the sacred legacy of her late husband. Commentators pointed out that she's fiercely protective of Kobe's memory and, even more importantly, how her children perceive that memory. This rumor, by hinting at replacement or some kind of dilution of the Bryant legacy, hit directly at what she guards most fiercely. The general sentiment was leave her alone no matter what she's doing. She shouldn't have to say anything at all. But you know what? It clearly bothered her enough that she felt compelled to speak out, precisely because she's so protective of Kobe's legacy and everything it represents. As all this chaos unfolded, one very loud voice was conspicuously absent: Stephen A. Smith. Known for his explosive takes on nearly every sports controversy imaginable, Smith had spoken so emotionally about Kobe's death, describing their deep friendship and Kobe's insane drive.
And deeply human. Devastating. Obviously, I found out a few minutes after the reports came out, and knowing what a winner he was, not just on the basketball court, but off of it. How inspirational he was, how motivational he was. It wasn't just about basketball with him. It was about life. And that Mamba mentality wasn't something that was reserved for just basketball players or for just athletes. It was for any human being out there who had a dream.
But now, amidst the absolute firestorm of this Vanessa rumor, Smith said absolutely nothing. His silence wasn't some accident. While analysts and fans were going wild speculating, Smith's restraint acted as its own powerful critique, an unspoken rebuke to everyone trying to weaponize Vanessa's private life. In a world where everyone had an opinion, his silence became a weapon of destruction, a flat-out refusal to feed the outrage cycle. To truly grasp the power of that silence, you have to understand how the outrage economy works. Controversy thrives on being amplified. Every single retweet, every podcast rant, every speculative headline just breathes more life into a rumor. By simply withholding his commentary, Stephen A. Smith effectively denied oxygen to the blazing inferno. His deep personal closeness to Kobe made his silence resonate louder than any words ever could. Fans noticed, blogs noticed. His very absence became a talking point. Why isn't Stephen A. Smith speaking up? The answer is complex. Smith had, after Kobe's passing, positioned himself as one of the media's most important guardians of his friend's legacy. To start speculating on Vanessa's personal life would completely contradict the reverence he had consistently shown. His silence, ironically, destroyed the rumor not by attacking Vanessa, but by outright refusing to join the mob that had turned against her. This whole situation perfectly illustrates a powerful truth: the impact of selective speech in the digital age. For some, power is measured by how loud they are. For others, it's measured by restraint. In the Vanessa Bryant rumor cycle, Stephen A. Smith's silence completely reframed the debate. Instead of everyone just talking about the rumor itself, commentators were forced to confront the sheer impropriety of the rumor's existence in the first place. That spark was lit by anonymous sources and then fueled by reckless repetition. But the counterforce wasn't some shouted defense. It was the thunderous sound of absence. Vanessa's humor and Stephen A's silence together completely recalibrated the conversation. But this was only the beginning. The rumor might have been put out, but the embers of controversy kept glowing, sparking debates about widowhood, questions about the public's ownership of private grief, and the true role of media personalities, whether they legitimize or smother speculation. These embers were then fanned into bigger battles over family disputes, legal fights, and the very meaning of Kobe Bryant's legacy in a culture absolutely starved for drama. In this first phase, though, the pattern was set. A rumor weaponized grief. Vanessa fought back with memes, and the internet got hostile, and Stephen A. Smith, by doing absolutely nothing, did everything. Stephen A. Smith's decades-long history with Kobe Bryant, a bond forged in mutual respect and frequent conversations, explains why his silence carried such immense weight. To understand why his restraint during the Vanessa Bryant pregnancy rumor was so symbolically powerful, we have to look back at their relationship and how Smith publicly presented himself as both a commentator and a confidant. Stephen Smith occupies a truly unique space in American sports culture. He's not an athlete, yet his influence often rivals the very players he critiques. He's not a coach, yet his words can completely shift the reputations of coaches and executives. His power lies in rhetoric, delivered through ESPN platforms that reach millions every single day. His trademark is volume, uncompromising, declarative, passionate. For years, audiences have known him as the man who never holds back, who always has something to say. But Kobe Bryant was never just another topic of debate for Smith. Their relationship blurred the lines between professional and personal. When Kobe tragically passed away, Smith was among the first prominent voices to speak publicly. His reaction was raw, unpolished, and incredibly deep.
He was a great basketball player. He was a great father. He loved his wife, Vanessa, obviously, tremendously. He was a great friend. We were just together on New Year's Eve, and we were supposed to meet again in a few weeks to discuss some things. And
this wasn't some distant broadcaster speaking. This was the voice of a man talking about his dear friend. Smith fondly remembered New Year's Eve gatherings, private conversations, and Kobe's intellectual ambitions far beyond the basketball court.
Spoke several languages fluently. Obviously Italian, Spanish, and of course English. I mean, this guy was highly intellectual. He was a brilliant mind. He was brilliant because he never believed he was. He was on a mission to constantly elevate himself intellectually. That's just the temperament that he had. But he also wanted to be inspirational in that regard.
Those comments cemented Smith's role as more than just a commentator in the aftermath of Kobe's death. In the public imagination, he became a guardian of Kobe's image. His testimony wasn't pulled from some press conference or second-hand reports. It came straight from personal memory. That authenticity gave Smith's words immense authority in shaping Kobe's legacy. The idea of legacy is huge here. In sports, legacy isn't just about piling up stats or championships. It's a cultural narrative pieced together through media, fan communities, and personal stories. For Kobe Bryant, whose career spanned different basketball eras and who perfected the Mamba mentality as a life philosophy, legacy was absolutely central to who he was. Stephen A. Smith's public reflections helped build that legacy, not just as athletic, but as philosophical, intellectual, and deeply familial. Smith described Kobe's ambition not in terms of jump shots or scoring records, but in terms of intellectual expansion and absolute ownership.
He came into the league talking about how he was going to be as great, if not greater, than Michael Jordan one day. And people used to look at him and say, this dude is off of his rocket. And sure enough, when you watched him work and you saw the commitment that he put in, you realized he wasn't playing. He was dead serious. He would win championships. He would take a week or two off and then show back up a week or two later and start working in the summertime at 5:30 in the morning. This is what he did religiously when other people were taking vacations.
This framing is crucial because it showed Kobe as a thinker, a visionary, and a family man, not just a basketball icon. It also solidified Vanessa Bryant's role as absolutely central to Kobe's life story. By describing Kobe as a devoted husband and father, Smith implicitly extended that same reverence to Vanessa, recognizing her as the partner and keeper of his family narrative. So, when that pregnancy rumor about Vanessa surfaced years later, Smith's silence became an act of profound consistency. To have spoken on it would have cheapened the deep reverence he had shown earlier. To speculate would have completely undermined the very legacy he had helped to amplify. His silence was, paradoxically, a powerful affirmation. Vanessa's private life was simply not fodder for public debate. You can't truly understand this dynamic without recognizing Smith's usual style. In almost every other sports controversy, Smith jumps in forcefully, whether it's Kyrie Irving's vaccination stance, Kevin Durant's trade request, or LeBron James's leadership. Smith positions himself as the definitive voice. His critiques get amplified precisely because of their intensity. The Stephen A. Smith brand is built on saying what others won't, so, in this case, his silence was not neutral at all. It was a deliberate, powerful departure from his usual brand. For his audience, that absence was louder than any rant he could have given. It signaled restraint, deep respect, and a firm refusal to let grief be commodified. To truly grasp how massive this restraint was, you just have to look at how Smith previously talked about Kobe's relentless mentality towards work and authenticity.
Anywhere he could go to inspire people to be the best that they can be, that was something that he wanted to do. He didn't want to just do it through his words, however. He wanted to continue to do it through his own work, to show that basketball was just one element of what he was all about.
These insights highlight exactly why Smith's perspective was so valued. He knew Kobe not just as a player, but as a relentless worker whose principles touched every single aspect of his life. By extension, Smith recognized that Vanessa's public identity was inseparable from Kobe's legacy. To even entertain a rumor about her personal choices would have directly contradicted everything Kobe stood for: discipline, respect, and seriousness. This silence also speaks to bigger themes about media ethics. In celebrity journalism, restraint is almost unheard of. Outlets thrive on clicks generated by scandal. Commentators often feel immense pressure to provide instant reactions, but Stephen A. Smith's decision to abstain highlights an alternative model. Sometimes, the most powerful statement is simply omission. This approach is what media scholars call strategic silence. In certain situations, refusing to amplify falsehoods or gossip is in itself an ethical stance. By not commenting, Smith essentially denied the rumor any legitimacy. He offered an alternative to the toxic outrage cycle, showing that you can honor a legacy by withholding commentary rather than contributing to baseless speculation. What's more, Smith's silence stood in stark contrast to the sheer volume of noise from other voices. Podcasts, blogs, and online forums dissected the rumor endlessly, often with pure hostility towards Vanessa. The whole spectacle felt like an attempt to control her, to dictate what a widow could or couldn't do. In that cacophony, Smith's absence felt like a shield. It was as if he refused to let Kobe's closest circle be reduced to a viral talking point. This contrast becomes even clearer when you remember Smith's earlier reflections on Kobe's powerful drive to inspire others.
Vanessa Bryant has won a $16 million verdict. They won these amounts in their lawsuit against the Los Angeles County Sheriff and the Los Angeles County Fire Department, ruling that they had two things. Number one, that they had wrongfully taken, actually snapped photographs of Kobe Bryant's dead body, and then they had shared them with a close group of people.
Here, Smith painted Kobe as a truly transcendent figure. By extension, Vanessa's role was never meant to be trivialized. Her life as a continuation of Kobe's legacy was absolutely not a subject for casual speculation. Smith's silence respected that sacred boundary. Another layer emerges when you consider the profound role of grief. Psychologists often point out that public mourning makes private healing incredibly complicated. When someone like Vanessa Bryant is forced to navigate both, the burden multiplies exponentially. Every single rumor becomes not just gossip, but a painful intrusion into her grief. Stephen A. Smith, having witnessed Kobe's intensity and Vanessa's undeniable importance in his life, seemed to understand this dynamic instinctively. His silence wasn't just strategic, it was deeply compassionate. And importantly, this silence did not go unnoticed. Fans on social media openly speculated about Smith's absence, often interpreting it as a clear sign of disapproval towards those spreading the rumor. In some corners, his restraint was celebrated as an act of immense respect. In others, it was criticized as evasive. But in either case, that silence was undeniably loud. To put this moment into perspective, It helps to compare Smith's response to other media figures. Some personalities absolutely thrived on the rumor, using it to drive engagement and clicks. Others tried to defend Vanessa, but even their defenses often ended up amplifying the story. Smith alone seemed to grasp that the most effective defense was to starve the rumor of oxygen entirely. In the long story of Kobe Bryant's legacy, this silence is now part of the narrative. Just as Smith once publicly described Kobe's intellectual brilliance and relentless work ethic, his refusal to speculate about Vanessa becomes a direct continuation of that reverence. It reinforces the powerful idea that some stories are not for public consumption, that grief deserves firm boundaries. Ultimately, Stephen Smith's silence can be seen as an act of profound preservation of Kobe's legacy, preservation of Vanessa's dignity, and preservation of the crucial line between commentary and exploitation. In a media ecosystem where words are currency, his silence became the single most valuable contribution he could make. But the story didn't end there. The rumor faded, but the embers of controversy lingered on. Vanessa Bryant remained at the very center of legal battles, family disputes, and intense media scrutiny. Every single move she made continued to attract speculation, often laced with harsh judgment. The cultural tug-of-war over her identity, as grieving widow, as custodian of Kobe's memory, as an individual, persisted. Stephen A. Smith's silence was just one moment in this much broader saga, but it brilliantly revealed the stakes, how words, or their absence, shaped the perception of legacy. It showed that even in an industry built entirely on commentary, there are moments when commentary is actually betrayal, and it underscored that sometimes the loudest destruction of a rumor comes not through attack but through firm refusal. The aftermath was filled with lawsuits, family disputes, endless media coverage, and an overarching narrative. The Vanessa Bryant pregnancy rumor was quickly put to rest, but its ripple effects exposed a deeper, harder truth. She was living in a world where her private grief, her public image, and her financial and familial struggles were constantly subjected to external control. The rumor was just the tip of the iceberg. Beneath it, Vanessa was fighting battles on multiple fronts, legal, familial, and cultural, and all of these factors explain why Stephen A. Smith's silence resonated so incredibly strongly. His refusal to participate in the noise perfectly aligned with the sheer gravity of what she was silently enduring behind the scenes. The first and most public of those battles was her lawsuit against Los Angeles County over their disgusting handling of the helicopter crash site. In August 2022, Vanessa Bryant was awarded a whopping $16 million in damages after jurors found that sheriff's deputies and firefighters had taken unauthorized photos of Kobe and Gianna's remains and then casually shared them with others. The court ruled that the violation wasn't just about the act of photographing, it was about the lasting emotional distress caused by knowing those horrific images could surface at any moment.
Vanessa Bryant is effectively saying, I, for the rest of my life, will live in fear that these photos will get out to the public.
She says, I live in constant fear that my daughters, my surviving daughters, may someday have to experience seeing their loved ones from the wreckage.
The lawsuit vividly exposed the pure cruelty of living under perpetual surveillance. Vanessa testified about her terrifying fear that her daughters might one day stumble upon those photos online. The jury awarded damages not just for the emotional distress she had already endured, but for the chilling, looming fear of future harm. As commentators pointed out, the case hinged less on tangible proof of widespread dissemination and more on the crucial recognition that the anxiety itself was a legitimate form of injury.
Since last time, Vanessa Bryant's mom has filed a lawsuit against Vanessa. She wants $92 an hour, 12 hours a day for the last 5 years for being a grandmother.
Yet, even as Vanessa secured this massive legal victory, criticism quickly followed. Some argued that suing for millions was completely unnecessary given her substantial financial resources. Others suggested she should have pursued only symbolic damages, but these critiques often completely ignored the core principle at stake: accountability for those who so callously violated the dignity of her husband and child. They also starkly revealed how public opinion so often tries to dictate how widows should grieve and how they should defend their families' legacies. Beyond the courtroom, Vanessa faced turmoil much closer to home. Her own mother, Sophia Lane, filed a lawsuit against her, demanding $92 per hour, 12 hours a day for alleged childcare services she claimed to have provided over years.
So Vanessa responded to the interview saying that despite claims otherwise, her mother has not been physically present or emotionally supportive since Kobe and her daughter passed away.
The sheer spectacle of a grieving widow being sued by her own mother was truly jarring. It ripped open deep fissures within the Bryant family structure and painfully underscored the isolating nature of Vanessa's position. Vanessa hit back with strong statements rejecting her mother's claims, pointing out that professional nannies had always been employed and that Sophia had simply not been consistently present or supportive after the tragedy.
But who shells out that money? Taxpayers. That's she sued the taxpayers. And for me, the part that was missing in the coverage of the case is I think what Vanessa suffered and what the Chester family suffered was horrendous.
This bitter dispute was dragged into the public eye through televised interviews and lawsuits, deeply deepening Vanessa's sense of betrayal. What should have been a private family conflict became a grotesque public spectacle, further eroding her already fragile control over her own narrative. The public response to this family rift was completely divided. Some sympathized with Vanessa, recognizing the greed and opportunism that so often follow tragedy. Others criticized her, framing the dispute as evidence of coldness or ingratitude. But what these debates often missed was the sheer abnormality of the situation. Few people ever endure lawsuits from their own mothers, let alone under the intense global spotlight of media fascination. And if these intensely personal and legal challenges weren't enough, Vanessa also found herself entangled in even broader cultural debates about wealth, celebrity, and responsibility. Her lawsuit victory sparked huge conversations about taxpayer money, since Los Angeles County would ultimately be footing the hefty bill. Commentators questioned whether it was fair for ordinary citizens to bear the financial burden of official misconduct. The criticism, however, so often misdirected the blame. The real culprits were the individuals who completely violated ethical standards. Yet, the public discourse vividly illustrated how widows of famous figures are frequently transformed into mere symbols, either of victimhood or opportunism, rather than being treated as complex individuals navigating impossible circumstances. The recurring theme throughout all of this was relentless control. Control over grief, control over narrative, control over legacy. Vanessa was constantly forced to defend her choices, whether against false rumors of pregnancy, against her own mother's lawsuit, or against ridiculous accusations of exploiting tragedy for financial gain. Each battle revealed the precariousness of her public position, revered as Kobe's widow, yet relentlessly scrutinized as Vanessa Bryant, the individual. Stephen A. Smith's silence, when you look at it again against this turbulent backdrop, acquires even greater significance. His refusal to comment on the pregnancy rumor wasn't simply an isolated choice. It was a powerful counterexample to the pervasive culture of intrusion that constantly surrounded Vanessa. Where others speculated, where others tried to control her story, Smith flat out declined participation. This restraint perfectly aligned with how Kobe himself approached control. Known for his obsession with work ethic and his unwavering insistence on crafting his own narrative, Kobe's philosophy rejected shortcuts and superficiality. Vanessa inherited not just his estate, but his immense symbolic burden, the demand to live intentionally under the searing glare of public scrutiny. Smith, in respecting her silence, honored that profound inheritance. The aftermath of the pregnancy rumor also unveiled broader lessons about the intersection of celebrity, grief, and digital culture. Rumors spread not merely because they're titillating, but because they give communities opportunities to police behavior. In this case, the rumor allowed people to debate whether Vanessa deserved to move on, whether she was allowed to start a new family, whether her grief met some unspoken, arbitrary standard. The speed and cruelty of that debate powerfully demonstrated how widows are so often denied autonomy by the very same public that claims to sympathize with them. Vanessa's brilliant choice to use memes in her Instagram response was itself an active act of narrative reclamation. Humor disarmed the rumor. It instantly transformed her from a passive subject into an active participant. It also revealed the razor-thin line she had to walk, serious enough to honor Kobe's legacy, yet lighthearted enough to diffuse completely unnecessary conflict. The lawsuits and family disputes further underscored how grief tragically intersects with money and power. Legal battles over images of her deceased husband and child, lawsuits from her own mother, criticism about taxpayer burdens, all revealed how tragedy becomes ruthlessly commodified in a celebrity context. Vanessa was simply not allowed to grieve privately. Her pain was monetized, litigated, and debated endlessly. In the end, the Vanessa Bryant pregnancy rumor wasn't remarkable because it was false. Celebrity rumors are false every single day. What made it truly remarkable was how it starkly revealed the constantly contested space Vanessa occupied: widow, mother, custodian of a legend, target of rumor, plaintiff in lawsuits, daughter in family conflict. She was forced to play multiple, incredibly demanding roles simultaneously, each one scrutinized by millions. Stephen A. Smith's silence will be remembered as one of the few moments when a major media figure adamantly refused to add to that immense burden. His deep history with Kobe gave his restraint a unique gravity. His reputation for explosive commentary made his absence conspicuous, and his understanding of Kobe's values made his silence an active act of fidelity rather than cowardice. The broader narrative here, then, isn't just about a rumor, but about the relentless struggle for ownership. Ownership of grief, ownership of legacy, ownership of voice. Vanessa Bryant's life since 2020 has been a harrowing series of attempts to reclaim ownership against powerful forces determined to wrench it away. In that ongoing struggle, the silence of Stephen A. Smith stands as an unlikely but incredibly powerful ally. It destroyed the rumor not by attacking Vanessa, not by feeding speculation, but by modeling what true reverence actually looks like: absolute restraint.